let's dive into the hottest topic of conversation when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only thing that people are talking about. We got a quarterback competition going on, some slight changes to the offensive line. The Pittsburgh Steelers play an actual football game tonight, but all eyes are on the same exact thing, and that is Brandon Aiyuk, where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand, what updates are here, and whether or not this is going to happen. Late last night, before everybody went to bed, Jerry Dulac tweeted out that the Pittsburgh Steelers are, quote-unquote, waiting. This is what he said. Sources, the Steelers are waiting to hear from the 49ers if a deal for Brandon Aiyuk is going to happen. Several factors could be involved, and one of them is the 49ers would like a wide receiver to replace Aiyuk, but the Steelers are not using any of their players as part of the trade. Then Mike Garafolo yesterday, which we somewhat addressed on the show, but we'll dive into it a little bit deeper as more information has come out. It's a possible 3-team trade that the 49ers are, quote unquote, snooping around, calling other teams, seeing if anybody is available. And Davante Adams is the name to watch in Vegas because apparently they could get their hands on Davante. The Steelers would send the Raiders some draft capital, and the Pittsburgh Steelers would land Brandon Aiyuk. You hear all that, I got a lot of thoughts. I was on the Locked On Steelers podcast last night talking about this. I was very excited to dive into it, and it just kind of got the wheels in motion. I don't think I haven't stopped thinking about it yet, but I'll ask you your opinion. A 3-team trade in the NFL, my friend. Could it happen? What is your expectations?
I mean, all of these teams seem very, what's the word I'm looking for here? They seem very much in line of wanting to get a deal done, but they're also all stubborn, so they don't want to do it without getting what they want in return. San Francisco, credit where credit's due, they are a Super Bowl contender this year. Bona fide, went to the Super Bowl, were 2 plays away from it last year. They want somebody back to help them get back to that Super Bowl plateau and hopefully push past it in their eyes. And they want a wide receiver back. That's what Kyle Shanahan wants. So they're going to try to get one by any means possible. And the Steelers, they want Brandon Aiyuk. They see him as the missing piece. They see him as the piece that takes them from a team that's going to be a playoff team and might be able to make some noise to a team that should be considered amongst the best in the AFC. And with 2 teams as stubborn and as motivated to get this done as the Steelers and 49ers, bringing in a 3rd team makes some sense. But again, how stubborn is that 3rd team going to be? And are they going to be able to all coexist and get a deal done? That just makes it harder, but also there's a lot of motivation on every side here.
Yeah, I'll say this. My thought is kind of shifted. At this point, I look at it and say if the San Francisco 49ers are looking to bring in a 3rd team and get this deal really done, they want a wide receiver, they think they could find one. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm taking my foot off the gas and I'm just coasting and letting this happen. If the 49ers want to go out and find a trade partner so that the Pittsburgh Steelers could send draft capital to them, great. But the Pittsburgh Steelers should not be upping their draft capital to what it was. If it was originally a 2nd or a 3rd round pick, it should remain a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. It should not get any higher than that just because they're going with a different team. I think this gives the Steelers leverage. I believe that the 49ers acknowledging that they're trying to do something that does not happen in the NFL. The 3-team tree, this is not the NBA. This is I dug. I got so into it last night that I was down a rabbit hole of 3-team trades in the NFL. I couldn't find one. And maybe I don't think that it's ever happened in the NFL. The way I look at it is if San Francisco is willing to do that, if they're really diving into this, they are clear as day saying we need to make this trade happen. In my eyes, that gives the Pittsburgh Steelers all of the leverage. And they could look at this and say, if anything, maybe our price goes down because you desperately want to get rid of Brandon Aiyuk because you understand this is not going to end well. I think it works in the Steelers' favor. I think that this is the upper hand that the Steelers have been waiting for. Maybe it moves it closer. I don't know. I don't think a 3-team trade is possible in the NFL. I really don't. But I also believe that Jerry Dulac's tweet of the Steelers are waiting to hear from the 49ers is in reference to the Steelers are waiting for the 49ers to make their phone calls and see if they can find a trade partner and then come back with an offer. And if you're coming back, let's say you're Omar Khan. If I'm John Lynch, I make a phone call and I say, hey, we got Davante Adams. You got to give up a 2nd round pick to go get him. Straight up. Just a 2nd round pick. You saying yes to that?
For Brandon Aiyuk?
You get Brandon Aiyuk. You send Davante Adams to San Francisco
for a second round pick.
A second round pick.
Without even hesitating. I mean, we've been talking about packages that include way more than that.
I
A
think so
second
too.
rounder, yeah. I sent a second rounder for Brandon Aiyuk, and I understand that there's a money side of things, but we've gotten to the point where the money side of things is basically on the back burner. We know that they're willing to pay it. They're going to pay it if they can get them. A second rounder for potentially your number one wide receiver for the next 3 years. Yeah, I make that deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm saying that. Now, let me say this. I don't think I'm going further than that. I think where we stand today, yesterday was a different story. 24 hours, every 24 hours, things are changing constantly. I believe the Steelers hold the upper hand to a point where I'm not giving up more than a second round pick. Where we stand, I'm not, unless it's like a second and a fifth, a second and a sixth, cool. But I'm not giving up a second in James Daniels. I'm not giving up a second and a third. I believe that where we stand right now, the 49ers are in such a deep spot that the Steelers could, yesterday it was the Steelers can't fleece the 49ers. The 49ers aren't going to look to get fleeced. This has to be somewhat even. Right now, if the 49ers are that desperate, I think I don't want to say the word fleece, but they could win this trade. The Steelers, I believe, could win this trade.
Yeah, it gets to a point where every team gets a little bit of what they want. I guess the Raiders only get maybe a second round pick, but also the Raiders are a team that aren't looking to contend anytime soon. I know they like Devontae Adams. I know towards the end of last season, they started to shift the culture kind of with him being one of the pivotal points. But again, you're not a team that's trying to go for it. So if you can get something to help you in the future, it makes some sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm pulling back. I mean, the Raiders can make some difficulties because they'll want more. But if I'm the Steelers and I'm just chilling and the 49ers are going to go do all the work, I'm okay with it. I think the Steelers have gained a massive upper hand in the last day or so. And where we sit right now, I'm still just as optimistic it's going to happen, but I think that it's going to look much better in Omar Khan's favor than it did a day, 2 days ago, where we currently stand.